Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Power Vacuum. I'm Belmont, and today we're going to be talking about the hot controversy that is The Witcher 4 and the recent trailer that was released for it. Has got a lot of people up in arms. So, let me go ahead and start by saying I am not a true expert of The Witcher. I've only read, I think, the first three books. Yeah, the first three books, and I've only played the last two games. I never played the first game. I only jumped onto the second game because I thought it was like a joke, like a meme goofball game, because I'd never heard of The Witcher, and I think I was introduced to it by Penny Arcade, of all places. And I was like, this can't be a real game. I looked into it, and I was like, this is a real game. Oh, I'm going to play it. And I thought it was a joke, but no, it was a very serious, very real game. Wanted you to get embroiled in the politics of the world and all this stuff, and had a very serious storyline. Because just the name alone, like when you had never heard of The Witcher, and the first thing you hear about this series is Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, you're like, this can't be real, right? This is a joke game, right? This is some sort of Fable-esque, like comedic parody style game. No, it wasn't. I don't think I read any of the Witcher books until after the announcement of The Witcher 3, and I was like, maybe I should check this out. And as I just said previously, I've only read the first three books. I'm not an expert on the lore. I know a little bit about it. But this trailer came out, and people are up in arms. And I understand some of it, because for the most part, I would say the Witcher games are the most lore accurate games to the source material as far as adaptations go. There are very few games that try to adhere to the lore as closely as they do. They do break the lore in a few places, pretty heavily in some places, but for the most part, it's intact as a established, canonized world. But there's a huge article out about the people over at Projekt Red here from, on IGN, inside The Witcher 4, Projekt Red's plans for its next big RPG. So we're going to read this, and then I'll discuss a little bit about some people's concerns. Since I can remember, we've been talking about Ciri and how much she deserves her own journey, says Sebastian Kalimba, game director of The Witcher 4. This likely won't come as a surprise to many fans of the Projekt Red's beloved RPG series ever since the Polish developer announced Polaris, The Witcher 4's codename. People have theorized that the series would switch perspective from the iconic Geralt of Rivia to his adoptive daughter Ciri. She is, after all, effectively the secondary protagonist of both the original novels and The Witcher 3. I think The Witcher as a title refers to both Geralt and Ciri, and always has. Gotta stop you right there? No, it doesn't. The Witcher specifically refers to a Geralt of Rivia, the White Wolf, the Butcher, as he is sometimes called. It's mostly his story. The reason Ciri is so heavily in it is because she's effectively his goddaughter, or adoptive daughter, rightful, what do they call it? I don't remember the term for it. It's when somebody is promised to you as a family member. Not like promise papers in marriage, but it's one of those things that Ciri was never meant to be a Witcher. I did do some diving into the lore because I didn't read all the books, so I was like, well, what does happen? I'm not going to read the books. I wasn't really a fan of Andre's, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, I'm not even going to try, writing style. I was just like, yeah, this isn't my style. I made it through the three books, and I was like, I've got what I want out of this series. Basic understanding of the world, an appreciation for some of the characters. Huge fan of Triss. I think she's undersold in most of the stuff. Huge fan of Geralt. I like Ciri as a character, but she's more of a focal point and a tool than she is a tool to the plot. Not a tool as in like a tool person, a tool for like driving the plot, than she is like a main character. She does do some things in it. She does get some stuff done, but once her magic is lost to her, she's just an exceptionally trained human. That's about it. Where was I? And Geralt series has. I think she's arguably more important to the plot than Geralt himself is. Arguable. All right. Last we saw Ciri, she was a young woman facing her destiny, but now, as depicted in the new cinematic trailer shown at the Game Awards, Ciri is a fully fledged Witcher hunting monsters for profit. Columba explains that following the events of The Witcher 3, Ciri has undertaken the famously painful trial of the grasses, which has mutated her into a powerful and resilient warrior. She's ready to take on the whole new journey in The Witcher 4, which is the first part of the planned new trilogy of a single-player open-world RPGs. A planned new trilogy. Oh, dear Lord, change the name. So I want to know the lore explanation to how she survives the trial of grasses and where she was able to take them, because part of it is there's it's several stages in order to perform the trial and complete them all, and it's basically stated in the lore that no one group knows them all, and it's effectively due to Vesemir's refusal to create new Witchers, the process has been lost. So unless they have some explanation of her transporting to a world where they do teach other people, where it's still surviving, where Witchers are still needed, where she learns it in another dimension, that's the only way. But if it's like fixed to the dimension where where the main story takes place, there's no way she can become a Witcher just based on like the standards of like the established rules of the world, the lore of the world, everything that's there. This is going to enrage a lot of people, mostly because women don't survive the process. And from what I remember, adults also don't survive the process. So the fact that an adult woman could just suddenly take it and survive is reeking of girl boss. And people don't like girl bosses. Do people like strong female characters? Yes, when they're genuine, when they've earned it, when there's need for it, when it's forced, when it's just, well, she can because she's a woman and women can do anything kind of bullshit. People don't like that. People don't jive with that. People don't want that. If you made a game about Ellen Ripley battling aliens, but made the game take place before the first Alien movie, people would hate it. If you made it take place after Aliens, where she's battled an alien queen and whatnot, people would probably love it. If you just made a action intensive version of Aliens and was like alternate universe, whatever, Ripley's, I don't know. People do like strong characters and strong female characters when they've been, built up and made that way. But when it's just snap of the fingers, here you go, she's badass now. Like, Ciri was always badass. She's just well trained. She's got power. She's got skills and talents. I think if they made a new series, made her not a Witcher, made it her own thing with her own magic and doing her own stuff with her abilities and skill sets, it probably wouldn't be getting all the hate and backlash that it's getting. And people would probably be super hyped. Where you're going to have a lot less people hyped about this because you're shattering years of established lore. Okay, I love the grit in her. She's almost obsessed with the way she lives. There are some moments where you have to go with your heart instead of always going with the calculated calls, and this is what I love in Ciri. She's less calculating, following her heart, her passion, her gut feel. They get you killed in real life, by the way. Fantasy world, I get it. I'll stop with that real life shit. It's this passion that will differentiate Ciri from Geralt and subsequently The Witcher 4 from its predecessors. We want to let players try to define her. Unlike Geralt, who has been a veteran monster hunter for the entire Witcher saga, Ciri is only just starting her career. That means there's space for players to create their own version of her. She's about to form her own codex on her own terms. That's why she actually deals with monsters the way she deals with quests. the adventurers it's her own unique way. As any veteran of the Projekt Red RPGs will know, the shape of Ciri and her codex will be dictated by decisions, both big and small. We see an example of such during the trailer, in which Ciri's interruption of a dark ritual results in the death of a girl she is attempting to save. It's a classic example of the studio's signature approach to choice and unforeseen consequences, but Kalimba promises a deeper approach for the fourth chapter. We want to put player agency at the center. Achieving such has required an expansion and evolution of The Witcher's definition of player choice. We're giving more tools for the player's disposal to be able not to only play and go with the consequences narratively, but also gameplay-wise, explains Kalimba. We want to give players more opportunities to be able to feel they define their existence. While The Witcher 3 is quite rightly considered among the very best RPGs of the 21st century, its admirable complexity is very much in the narrative design that rather than elastic gameplay. For example, Geralt can't become a master of stealth and silently backstab his way to victory, nor can he hone his skills in the niche polearm to develop a particular fighting style. But in the years between Witcher projects, Projekt Red created Cyberpunk 2077, much more flexibility when it comes to those kinds of choices. That's one of the things that's one of the things I liked about The Witcher. I like games where you play a set character, where you play a fixed person, just as much as I like games that are like Skyrim style. Create your character, be what you want, do what you want. I do think games that have a fixed narrative are more enjoyable overall, because that allows the developers to focus more on story and tell a better story. Like, what's the story of Skyrim? What's the story of Oblivion? What's the story of Fallout 3? No, go ahead. I mean, yes, there is a story, but for the most part, when you have endless player choice, a lot of people don't even follow through with the story or ever beat it. I know people that have hundreds of hours in Skyrim and have never beaten the main quest. Like, it's just one of those things that happens when you are given too many choices. Where if you play a game like The Witcher 3, you know what happens in that game. You know your choices affect it. There's multiple endings that you can get. I always seem to get the bad one. I've only played through it twice. Once originally and then once after all the DLCs came out. And I got the bad ending both times. And I was like, damn, I suck. Maybe I got to go back and try it again. I am due to play it again because it's one of those games that I wanted to revisit, especially given some time and see if it still holds up. But I don't know if that's the approach I don't know if the cyberpunk style approach is best for The Witcher. And even in Cyberpunk, you play V. You're a fixed character. You can be male or female version of V. You can, you have some variety of choices, but you're still this character in this world with this story. Like, these things are still set. So I wouldn't even say Cyberpunk has that much variety. How you progress through the world has variety, but the game itself does not. I believe the gameplay in Cyberpunk was more varied than The Witcher 3 and allowed for more freedom when it comes to creating characters' builds and being able to experience encounters in your own way. I guess I could have just kept reading, but yeah, that's basically what I was just saying. Every encounter in 2077's Night City is a flowchart of decisions, action or stealth, hacking or weapons, ranged or melee. Those options are expanded and enhanced by the skills and perks you've invested in, as well as a healthy dose of curiosity and experimentation. And so for Ciri's next adventure, the studio is looking not to just build upon what is achieved in The Witcher 3, but also Cyberpunk and its expansion, Phantom Liberty. By the way, Phantom Liberty, one of the best expansions, like right up there with Blood and Wine. Like, if anybody can do expansions, it's CD Projekt Red. I'll give them that. This is something we definitely want to bring as a lesson to The Witcher 4. We want to improve on Witcher 3's gameplay, but also we want to improve the alignment of the way you will be able to explore the world He hopes improvements will result in super coherent experience across main story missions, side quests, and open world activities. It won't, though, because if anything, the open world experience in Cyberpunk wasn't coherent based on your gameplay style, because you could do some crazy shit in that game. What is this? Siri faces her destiny into The Witcher 3. CD Projekt Red definitely has a bigger, better, more advanced aspect of a AAA sequel underway then. But sequels are also about continuing the story, and while The Witcher 4 is the start of a new saga, it's still the next chapter in an established character's life, and that's where there's a little problem to overcome. The one complication is probably the idea that there's an ending in which Ciri can die, the bad ending. Thankfully, that ending, which is one of the 3 different fates for Ciri, an outcome of several different hidden choices made throughout the game, isn't quite as clear as it may seem. There are hints at the ending that highlight the fact that she probably does not die. And so, regardless of the events personally witnessed at the end of your own Witcher 3 playthrough, the sequel will not break any canon or even offend any canon. Yeah, because I guess it's not stated explicitly that she's dead. It's stated that she's gone, which, is implied death, but she could be sidestepped to a new dimension. Of course, there will be plenty of players coming to The Witcher 4 who have no knowledge of the events of the previous games, to whom the details of Ciri's former adventures will mean little. CD Projekt Red is very aware that it's been a decade since the release of Wild Hunt, and that a whole generation of fantasy fans who were too young for a mature rated game back in 2015 will likely start their Witcher journey with the 4th game when it finally launches. First and foremost, too young for a mature rated game has little to no meaning in the real world. Most parents don't give a shit what the rating of a game is. Unless they're explicitly told when they bought a game, this is not for kids, you can't buy it, or unless the retailer refuses to sell to a parent, which will never happen. Maybe back in the day when Electronics Boutique was a place, those guys seemed to fucking hate money, and they would deny sales all the time. But no, man, kids are playing Grand Theft Auto at the age of 9. They're playing fucking Black Ops when they're 6. Like, age rating means nothing. We want to aim for new players, says Mitrega, executive producer of The Witcher 4, the wider audience, and also the people that know the franchise but who maybe do not play our games. As such, The Witcher 4 is being pitched at the start of something new, and as much as the continuation of something old. All right, I gotta stop you right there. Or I gotta stop myself. We aim for new players. That is never something you want to read about a game that's a continuation of a franchise. We want to aim for the new players. Not we want to get new players. Not we want to bring more new players. They're aiming for the new players. Specifically for the new audience, not the old audience. That's what that reads like when you take it straight out of as it is. The wider audience and also the people that know the franchise who maybe don't play the games, well, you're not going to get them by making Ciri a Witcher and going through the trial of the grasses, because the people that don't play the games but know the series are most likely going to be people that have read the book. I highly doubt people who watch The Witcher on Netflix are going to go pick up the games now. Mostly because the people that watch Netflix are watchers. They watch things. They sit down on their couch and they want to put on something on the screen and turn their brain off. And you can't turn your brain off in a Witcher game because you'll fucking die. Right? Those games are not easy. If you go, I think the second one had it. I don't remember the third one having it at all. But the second one knew that people weren't used to the game, knew nobody played the first one. They're like, yo, here's a demo of how the game plays. Play this first part and we're going to suggest a difficulty for you. And they suggested the easiest difficulty for 99% of people that had played it. It was hilarious. When you were reading the forums back in the day, everyone was like, it's telling me to play on the easiest setting. And I was like, it's bullshit. And I jumped up the difficulty and I can't get past the first town. And I'm like, yeah, I had to play on normal. I normally play games on a harder difficulty, but Witcher 2, when I first got into it, I was like, I can't do anything on this harder difficulty. I had to bump it down to normal or standard or whatever they called it. But yeah, this statement gives me concern, gives me pause, because like when you say we want to aim for the new players, it's telling me that you're making a game for modern audiences, and there's no modern audience. New players cannot carry a game. Is it a new franchise? Yes. Is it a spin-off? Yes. That statement can apply to those things. But when you're going to call it The Witcher 4, you need to cater to the people that made The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3 great games. Like, that made them like the sales juggernauts that they were. Whew, I do not like that. I don't know who this Matrega guy is, but he shouldn't be talking, because Kalemba hasn't said anything that's really going to lead me to believe that he's not targeting everyone available. You want to get cast as wide a net as possible when it comes to video games. But let's continue. As part of that, Kalemba and Matrega explain that they're ensuring The Witcher 4 is an approachable experience. They want everyone who cares to play. See, I like that better. That was probably Kalemba. But there doesn't seem to be any sign of the studio's trademark RPG depth being watered down in payment for that approachability. We created story-driven games, so we want to make sure that people that buy games for the story, they'll be able to experience the story in their own way, and they will be simply able to approach it. It's a weird sentence. Kalemba explains, but people that are looking for specific challenges, they will be able to experience the story in a challenging way. The studio faces a much larger challenge than just crafting a sequel that's approachable for newcomers, though. While Cyberpunk is now regarded as a landmark RPG, its launch was one of the highest profile disasters in industry history. It took CD Projekt Red years to fix the game's problems, a project necessary not only to make the game work, but also to save the company's reputation. Those years were more than just transformative for Cyberpunk, though, and the road to 2077's notable comeback resulted in significant structural changes at CD Projekt Red, changes that hopefully will lay the groundwork for better things for The Witcher 4. The way we produce right now has changed in a very good way. We are very mindfully defining the stage of the production. We are very mindfully trying to scope it, making sure that the foundation is there. I already see this helping us to make sure that whatever we create right now is super coherent across the board. This way makes us feel that we control the super complex environment more than we used to, and it also makes everyone feel more secure when it comes to developing generally on the daily basis. The governing rule for these new challenges is let it cook. That's evident in the way the studio has allowed more time for pre-production. The Witcher 4's existence was publicly announced back in 2022, but has only just gone into full production. So this game's not coming out for like 4 or 5 years, but there have been other significant changes during the development of Phantom Liberty. Perhaps the studio was restructured into content teams where multiple disciplines work to tightly coordinate. That's a. Do you not mean coordinate? Do you mean coordinate? Is there a substantial difference when you hyphenate it? Groups to create particular sequences and quests. These changes aren't just about ensuring game quality and smooth eventual release, though. During the development of Cyberpunk 2077, it was reported that the studio staff enduring long working hours and mandatory overtime demands. Rewind the clock further back, and CDPR faces similar accusations while working on The Witcher 3. The studio's new approach aims to create a better working environment for the people making The Witcher 4. I think that it's already helping create a better working environment. I guess that's the way forward, is to produce it in a healthy manner so that people can still find fun in what they do, and that's what's inspiring. That's what makes the quality so high. We're planning different ways to communicate with teams. She continues. Teams are planned differently than we were on Cyberpunk, so it's already helping. CD Projekt Red isn't ready to reveal a launch date for The Witcher 4 yet, possibly as a result of that let it cook mantra. But, well, yeah, because, okay, so if the cinematic trailer is anything to go on by, the recipe will have to be exact. While IGN visited the studio's Warsaw headquarters ahead of the Game Awards, the team explained that the trailer had gone through dozens and dozens of revisions, with each new vision fine-tuning the presentation and delivery of The Witcher 4's first story. CD Projekt Red has approached the cinematic with as much precision as it has the game at large, iteration over and over again until it's exactly right. Believe me, behind every single scene there was an intention. There is in any single frame no coincidence in this trailer. We're building it in a way to sell a very, very coherent story, short story with a beginning and climax. We also want to have the full experience because this is coming home for old fans, but this is also introduction for the new audience. Fuck, how long is this damn article? Okay, we're almost done. After a decade of waiting, nothing but a full experience would do for those old fans, and that's what we have. The 6-minute trailer tells us not a complete short story, not just a complete short story, but also contains all the hallmarks of a classic Witcher quest. A contract, a kill, and a consequence. Whoa, there's no contract. She just goes off and does this on her own. For veterans of Geralt's adventures, it's a good reminder of why it's worth coming back for a 4th installment. As the new fans, it's about as good as it tastes as The Witcher's magic as you can get in advertising form. No doubt The Witcher subreddit is about to be inundated with thousands of "how do I get into this" post, as if this is a question you have. And then our chat with CD Projekt Red's Witcher lore master should be your next stop. As for what's next, CD Projekt Red won't say. With full production only just spun up, we can't be in it. I don't care what they have to say about the rest of that. That's them rambling. I didn't know that they hadn't gone into production until recently. I thought, man, so this game's not coming out for years. Like 4 or 5 years probably. So you're looking at maybe 15 years between The Witcher 3 and The Witcher 4. That might be enough time for people to get over their complaints from the cinematic, but it's also going to give people time to stew and boil and grow to hate it even more. But my biggest concern with this is CD Projekt Red released a video not too long ago stating that they were going to try to make games for the modern audience. And that is a coded term for we're going to ruin everything you love about this and push modern current day politics into the fucking gaming world. And people do not want modern current day politics in their video games. They want to escape modern current day politics when they play video games. That's the point of a video game. Unless you are making a game set in the current day, that shit should not be there. And I'm concerned with their new DEI department that they have at CD Projekt Red, with the fact that they completely redesigned the character. They've completely destroyed the original lore of the game. They've completely excised Geralt in replace of Ciri, which was always expected. That's not actually a big surprise. Geralt's story was over. Ciri's story was beginning. But for them to just make her a Witcher, it's this classic failure where they say that these modern writers, and I don't know if these are the same writers that did The Witcher 3 or that did Cyberpunk, but the modern writers, from what I've seen, cannot write strong female characters. What they do is they write a male character with male actions, male attributes, male persona, and then just skin it in a female and go, it's a woman now. And that's not how you write a strong female character. Men and women are different. It's just biologically, emotionally, physiologically, we're different. And we react to situations differently. We think different. Our brains are wired differently. Things that affect men, especially when it comes to chemicals and drugs and pharmaceuticals, we are affected differently by different things. Like for the longest time, when they were testing painkiller drugs, they used to just think women were crybabies because they were like, oh, you're still in pain. Oh, it's not a good enough painkiller. Well, it turns out because of our physiological differences, that the painkillers that worked for men didn't work for women. So they had to actually develop painkillers for women. And that's the whole point of the Trials of the Grasses and the issues that people had with Warhammer 40K is things that affect people on a biological level affect men and women differently because of how different we are when it comes to biology. And that's where a lot of this argument's coming from. You're going to have those arguments. You're going to have the lore arguments. You're going to have people that are just complaining about what they call the uglification of characters. I really don't give a shit how Ciri looks. People are like, oh, she looks She looks so much different. And it's like, okay, well, she's 20 years old in The Witcher 3. And given that she's gone through the trial of grasses, that's already been explained, that she's done all this stuff, we don't know the timeline here. If this is set 20 years in the future, well, yeah, she's going to look a lot different. She's going to be a little more filled out. She's going to be a little more harder and rougher looking because she's fighting monsters and whatnot. That shit, I'm concerned less with that than I am with the lore breaking implications. But there's everything we know about The Witcher, straight from the creator's mouths, or The Witcher 4, I should say. Again, my biggest concern is that tagline that we want to aim for the new players. You got to include the old. Those are the ones that are successful. And when you're looking for an audience, it's got to be a new story. It's got to be new. You can't go, there's a sequel, fuck the old. That never worked. And I don't, no example where they were looking for the new people. We don't care people that made our game successful actually succeeded. Didn't work for Star Wars. It's probably not going to work for us. So hopefully that they development, they've got a long, and we have no idea how this game's out. This was purely a trailer that was released, so everything we know right now is based off of that and this article. But this video's gone on long enough, so I'm going to call it right there. I'll put a link to the article in the description if anybody wants to read it themselves. But that's all I have for this video. Belmont out.